Russia throws down the gauntlet to the US on Venezuela. Badra punchline. The Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova acknowledged in Moscow on Tuesday that Russian specialists are indeed in Venezuela within the ambit of a 2001 military technical cooperation agreement with Caracas. Zakharova underscored that Russia's bilateral military cooperation with Venezuela is in accordance with the latter's constitution and has legal underpinning which doesn't require any additional approval from the opposition-controlled National Assembly of Venezuela. The Russian readout of a conversation between Sergei Lavrov and Pompeo. The Russian readout said Pompeo was interested in certain issues related to the developments in Venezuela. It added Sergei Lavrov emphasized that Washington's attempts to organize a coup d'etat in Venezuela and threats to its legitimate government are a violation of the UN Charter and blatant interference in the domestic affairs of a sovereign state. After stating principal differences in Russian and US positions, the officials agreed to stay in touch and continue to exchange assessments. The State Department readout, however, claimed that Pompeo warned Russia to cease its unconstructive behavior in Venezuela and that Washington and its regional allies will not stand idly by as Russia exacerbates tensions. Then you had Bolton in a series of tweets. Maduro has lost the support of the people. He's relying on Cuban and Russian support to usurp democracy and repress innocent civilians. Rather than sending nuclear-capable bombers and special forces to prop up a corrupt dictator, Russia should work with the international community to support the Venezuelan people. Clearly, Moscow has weighed the pros and cons of the situation and has decided to be unapologetic about its support for the Maduro government. Despite the US outbursts, Moscow is showing no signs of backing off. And saying it's vitally important for Russia that the US, which aspires to be the #1 exporter of oil and gas, does not gain control of vast Venezuelan reserves, as that would mean an enormous capacity falling into Washington's hands to manipulate the supply and demand of the world energy market and set the price of oil and gas. In geopolitical terms, a strong Russian presence in Venezuela becomes a negotiating chip for Moscow in dealing with the growing NATO and American deployments along Russia's western borders in Central and Eastern Europe and the Baltic states. That alone makes Venezuela a strategic partner for Russia. Zakharova did not explicitly mention Ukraine or the Baltic states, and Poland and the Black Sea and the Caucasus, but the implicit meaning is clear. If the US interferes in Russia's backyard, Moscow serves the right to retaliate, period. Lavrov's remarks were rather sharp. Lavrov, also stressed that the US's intention to recognize Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights would lead to a serious violation of international law, impede the Syrian settlement process, and aggravate the situation in the Middle East. October 2015, I wrote a piece, When Putin Stepped Up at Unga, and I called him a geopolitical grandmaster. And indeed, here again, he's inserted himself, he's become much bolder post-Syria. And I've said previously that, I'm afraid Maduro is going down just like Muammar went down and as did Saddam. I think it's unavoidable. I was describing the edge, no honest way to explain it, because the only people who really know where it is are the ones who have gone over. And I was implying that Venezuela has gone over, essentially. And then I was also saying the Chavez revolution was always a rebellion in the superpower's backyard, and the machine was eventually going to bring it to heel by hook or by crook. And Russia's intervened in that process right now. Access to oil defined 20th century empires, and the petrodollar agreement was the key to the ascendancy of the United States as the world's superpower. America's war machine runs on, is funded by and exists in the protection of oil. Threats by any nation to undermine the petrodollar system are viewed by Washington as tantamount to a declaration of war against the United States of America. The Chavez Revolution was always a rebellion in the superpower's backyard, and the machine was eventually going to bring it to heel by hook or by crook. Andrew Korobiko, writing in the Oriental Review, speaks to this issue about oil and gas. He headlined his article, "A Venezuelan coup could challenge OPEC Plus and build Fortress America." Trump, in August 2018, I was talking about Turkey, Pastor Brunson, I was talking about Venezuela. I was saying Trump seems to be relishing his financial warfare strategies. At that time, Maduro was being attacked by remote-controlled drones.